if you want to be free, literally free from the matrix, that is it. When you take the red pill versus the blue pill is you stay in your regular life, you keep doing what you're doing, you keep following the script that is given to you, and you just live this life and you pretend that you're happy, or maybe you are happy. Some people can be happy with the script. But if you feel like you are unhappy with the life that you are living, or you feel like something is wrong with the world, then you take the red pill. Hello, and welcome back to Bri Speaks podcast. I am your host, Bri Speaks, and today we will be talking about two of my very favorite topics, which are my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. If you're new here, hi, my name is Bri Speaks. I created the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control, which are patriarchy, capitalism, corporatism, racism, Abrahamic religions, and ableism/ageism, which we will get into what each of those are. And that's one topic, with my second favorite topic, which are the levels of awareness that humans have. And each level of awareness, as you become more and more aware of the social structures that are around you, of the programming that is around you, of the brainwashing that is around you, of the things, of the powers and the entities that are controlling your thoughts, your behaviors, your subconscious, your bias. As you become more aware and you awaken from the programming that they have put into each of us, your level of awareness heightens or expands, and you are able to do more, understand more, feel more, see more. Like, literally, you become more aware, and it's like it benefits your life in like so many ways. I can't explain enough. When you are no longer programmed, you become a free person. You become a person who is doing things because you want to do them, and not because someone is telling you to do them, not because you feel pressure to do them, not because you feel like you're supposed to do them, but you do them because you want to do them. And that is the true definition of being free, is doing what you want when you want, just because you want to do it. That is all. So if you want to be free, literally free from the matrix, that is it. When you take the red pill versus the blue pill, red pill, what is it? The blue pill is you stay in your regular life, you keep doing what you're doing, you keep following the script that is given to you, and you just live this life and you pretend that you're happy, or maybe you are happy. Some people can be happy with the script. But if you feel like you are unhappy with the life that you are living, or you feel like something is wrong with the world, then you take the red pill and you open your eyes to what is around you, and you see inside the matrix, and you understand what is the structures that are holding society in place. Then you can use your newly found free will to either lead your life and be, a happy, successful, sovereign person on your own, or you can use that new power to break down the systems and try to awaken everyone else as well. And so those are the two topics we are talking about, and I am excited to combine them because I do hope that it will help people see what I see, wake up from their narcissistic control program slumber, and then more people can work together to help change the world. So, all right, here we go. So to get started, we will talk about each of the narcissistic hierarchies of control. I will go over this if you are new. And I've been needing to go over this again because since my last video that I've done on this, I have updated several things. So I am going to walk through this one by one. And if you are super familiar with these, feel free to skip to, I'll put in the chat whenever we get into the levels of awareness and how they impact people who are still being controlled by these systems. So, all right. So yes, if you are new here, these are my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. These are the unseen, unspoken social systems that control all of us, or control most of us, not me, because I've broken out of the matrix. But if you are a regular person born, especially in America, and I say especially in America because America is built on narcissism. It is built on hierarchy. It is built on control. It is built on the haves and the have-nots. It is built on the foundation of this country is systems that extract wealth, that extract energy, that extract spirit, soul, physical body, labor. It's built on a system of extraction that was the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. And from there, the system it's only transmutated, it's multiplied, it's divided, it's done all these things. It's got square roots, whatever mathematical equation you want to put in there. It's done everything but go away. So it's just translated itself into ways that society now deems as, okay or fit or logical or necessary or whatever, but it has never gone away. So understanding that in America, narcissism is the worst across the world. I haven't really been across the world, so I'm going to take that statement back. But to my understanding, based on what I have heard from basically everyone else who has left this country, narcissism, well, they say that these structures like racism, like patriarchy, these structures are very pervasive in America. And that is because one, they are narcissistic systems, and America is built on narcissism. And it's also an individualism. Narcissism is all for one instead of one for all. I don't know if you guys watch anime, but if you watch My Hero Academia, which is a popular one right now, the villain is all for one. That meaning all people's abilities, all people's joy, all the things that people can do, they have to come together and put them all together for the benefit of one person. That villain, he takes everyone's everything and gives it to himself. He is all for one. And then the hero of that anime is one for all. His power is to use his one power to help everyone, help the collective. And that is what it's supposed to be. That is what it is naturally in nature. You will never see a group of animals who are working together for the benefit of one person. Maybe I'm thinking about the queen bee that comes to mind, and all the worker ant bees work for her, but they all work for her in the way that it is still a system that is built to benefit the collective colony. These systems are forced upon all of us, and that is what narcissism is. Narcissism is there are systems of force, there are systems of manipulation, there are systems of abuse, there are systems of non-consent. Like, consent does not exist in a narcissistic world. If it's like whatever the narcissist wants, the narcissist will get, and it doesn't matter how you feel about it. That is the epitome of narcissism and narcissistic systems. Now that we have that understood, so what are the systems? Let's just get into it. So the first one is patriarchy. Patriarchy is the social structure. It is the first narcissistic system that was granted to humankind. For those who don't know, women were in charge of the planet. Women did run the planet. Women were the kind of cornerstone of most societies before the patriarchy began. And the patriarchy began about 12,000 years ago, whenever people started planting and doing agriculture and settling, and then men began to quote unquote protect land and resources, and then began passing down land and resources through the male lineage versus the female lineage, which it was. And so that is when the patriarchy began. So patriarchy was the first system that flipped the world upside down, that says that men are on top of women, men are more important than women, men are more useful than women, men should run society over women, and men should be the leaders of women. So patriarchy is the root of all evil, just letting you guys know that. But patriarchy says that the traditional man, right? When this traditional man is a man who is heterosexual, masculine presenting, he has money or resources, and he controls a woman or children. And I use controlled as an intentional word because if you are a man in the patriarchy, if you are married, which is what it is, you are controlling a man and possibly a child if you inseminate that woman. Then you are cream of the crop. You are the top. You have won peak masculinity. You have won you have won the game of life. If you are a traditional man in the patriarchy, you are supposed to be rewarded with a life of joy and fulfillment and satisfaction. Does that happen? No, because like any narcissist or any narcissistic system, they tell you everything they tell you is a lie. Everything they tell you is 100% a lie. lie used to control you and make you do whatever they want you to do because it benefits them. Who is the mysterious them? The people in charge, of course, the billionaires, the people, the government, the people who are literally in control of society. They have these systems in place to maintain their control and power over society. Because if you have a land full of critical thinking people full of free will, then how are you going to exploit them for their labor? How are you going to make them do what you want them to do and take from them if you can't control them? Like, control is a necessary thing in order for exploitation to occur. And so the people who have power, in order to keep power, they ensure that I don't want to call it the matrix, but like that our worlds as we experience them all perpetuate these narratives. So from what on TV, you will never see a happy ending for a woman being a single child-free woman living her best effing life, young and beautiful, and not having kids and happy to not have kids. Like, you'll never see that. Like, I've been grasping for that for so long, but the ending is always, the woman gets saved by a man, and then the man is happy and he has all this credit for being a hero, and the woman is happy because she gets to live up under a man for the rest of her life. The end. Like, that is like 90% of all romance movies. Like, I would say 99%. Give me a romance movie that doesn't end in a man and a woman getting married and having a kid and living quote unquote happily ever after. Although we never see the happily ever after. We only see, the woman getting married, and then we never see her again. Check on her in 10 years. We'll see how she does. I bet you she's gained weight. I bet you she is, her skin's not as nice. I bet you she doesn't go out and dress up nearly as much. And I bet you she's less happy than she was before she was married. But she won't admit that because the patriarchy tells her she's supposed to be happy as a traditional heterosexual feminine presenting woman who has a husband and children. The patriarchy tells you you are second in line. You are supposed to be happy. And so if you're not happy, you are the problem. It's not the system. It's not your lifestyle. It's not the script that I gave you to read off of. You're the problem for reading the script wrong or for not liking the script. Like, if you don't like the script, it's not the script. It's you. You're the problem. So that's your second tier in the patriarchy, is your traditional woman who's married and feminine presenting. And then if you keep going down, I have it's tier 3. Again, these tiers are representative more so, I would say, of like population almost, but they really represent like societal status, like your status in these social hierarchies. But I do think they can also kind of correlate to population, but it doesn't work perfectly. So I usually leave out the population part. Tier 3 is your non-traditional man, your non-traditional masculine presenting man. So this man is still presents as a man, but he may not have as much money. So, he's lower on the social totem pole. He may not have a woman. He's lower. And these are your red pill guys. They're like, they all hate women, but they all want a woman. So they are less socially attractive or socially viable to the patriarchy because they don't own or control a woman and children. But they are still a man. And so they are going to be higher than anyone else. And then you have your non-traditional woman, which is like, she may be feminine presenting, but if she's not married or she has no kids or she's older, or maybe she is even a little, God forbid, a woman is a little not attractive, conventionally attractive, that's bottom of the barrel. So if you are a woman and you've ever, if you've been single or don't have a husband and you have all your grandmas saying, hey, when are you going to get a man? Or, hey, now that you got a man, when are you going to give me some babies? When are you going to give me some grandbabies, some great grandbabies? That is them pushing you into being a traditional woman. They're trying to push your social status up in this hierarchy, but they don't know that they are perpetuating patriarchal standards. I want to call them misogynistic, and they are misogynistic because I'm just like, as I look through everything, it is being with a man is woman abuse in my personal opinion, because I was looking at a video the other day, and it was a woman who, like, she was like this. She was like, oh, she always wanted to be a gymnast, and she was like training really hard to be a gymnast, and then she found out, oh, she wanted to be a cheerleader. Like, it was all like acrobatics, flips, tricks, stuff, and she was working to do that all her life, and then she got in a relationship. And like, the video itself wasn't about patriarchy or anything. It was just like her life journey. And so she was like basically saying her life journey from birth to to where she is now. But while she was going through her journey, she said, then I got in a relationship, and my first immediate thought was like, oh, she's about to stop doing gymnastics. She's about to stop doing cheer. She's going to be happy. She's I already know what's part of the story comes next. And then boom, like clockwork, it was like, I gained weight. I stopped cheering. I stopped doing this, that, and the third. And then this is always what happens as well. And then she started doing the things that she loved again. And she started, doing cheer, doing gymnastics or whatever she was doing. And then she was like, but then my relationship fell apart. And it's just like, it's like, I just wish it were like less predictable. It's like, if you get into a relationship as a successful woman, your success and happiness and self-care and prioritizing of yourself will immediately tank, because the man will suck all of the energy out of you and ensure that you don't follow your dreams and you only pay attention to them. And then the moment you're like, actually, I enjoyed following my dreams, I want to get back to that, they will begin to, I wouldn't say hate. Well, they don't like you. But they will begin to become resentful of you for not doing what they want you to do, for not prioritizing them, for not paying attention to them, for not putting them first. And then your relationship will inevitably dissolve. I had this happen with my son's father, personal anecdote. I was pledging for a sorority after this is, I was doing a grad chapter thing. And of course, I was the main caretaker for the household, did everything for the kid, cooked dinner, all the stuff that I was doing all my wifely duties, heavy air quotes if you're listening to the podcast version of this, heavy air quotes on wifely duties. But so I was pledging for a sorority, and then if you've ever pledged or know people who've pledged, you know that it's a very intensive process. And so I was obviously not able to cook as much, and I was not able to do all the things that I was considered, my wifely duties. And instead of my husband stepping in to support me, oh no, my narcissistic ex, of course, he started complaining that I wasn't doing the things that I used to do, started complaining that this new thing that I was doing that I had wanted to do since I was in college, which is the whole reason why I was doing it post grad, was because I still wanted to do it. I still had this, this want to do it, that it was taking up too much of my time. Is it really that important? This is really stupid? Like, is it worth it? Like, why these people are messing up our relationship? Like, it was all of these things, everything but, babe, I know this is important to you. Let me help. Anything but that. It was anything but that. By my own just like sheer willpower and determination, I ended up finishing. But y'all, when I say barely, and then even then, I finished with such a disdain for the experience. Like, I was not able to like integrate with my my line sisters or my sorority sisters the way that I normally would have as a regular person, like an independent person, because he took me away from so much of the process, literally as much as he possibly could. He took me away from that process, so that by the time I was finished, it was like I went through it, but it was like I was sleeping basically through the whole thing. And I can't, like, I'm just not as close to my sorority sisters as all of my other sisters are, because they were completely in it. But I could not be in it because he did not allow it. He did not want me getting new friends, getting new organizations, getting new support, getting, more like just a different circle, like anything that deprioritized him and put other people in my corner. He did not like that. So anyways, that is what narcissists do, for an example. And so if you are a non-traditional woman and you have no kids and you don't have a husband, people will try to push you in that direction because the patriarchy tells everyone that's what you're supposed to do. And then finally, at the bottom of this hierarchy of patriarchy are queer people. If you are in a body with a vagina and you present as a masculine entity, or you are in a body with a penile projection and you present with with any sort of a feminine entity or feminine essence, you deserve to go where the sun don't shine, according to the patriarchy. You are not even a real person, honestly. You deserve no rights. You should be subjugated. You should be locked away in basements. People shouldn't put you in books. People should make, like, your existence should not exist. And because it does, like, even though like it does to the patriarchy, it doesn't. You exist, but like, I don't know what they think about trans people or queer people who are attracted to the same sex. Like, the patriarchy is just like, nah. It's just like, nah. All of these things that are the nuance, the in between, like the in between, the extremes, like the binary that exists when it comes to patriarchal gender norms. Like, I don't know. I struggle with it so much because anything that exists on a binary is just like, there is no such thing as a binary. There is no such, everything in the world exists on a spectrum. There's nothing you can name me right now that does not exist on a spectrum. From the fact that I'm a woman, so I can be a woman who presents this way. I can be a woman who presents all the way to a trans man who is a technically like a person who was born into a female body, but they embody everything that is the masculine energy. Like, I don't, like, it's like even something more simple like this paint on the back of my wall is like a limeish green. Green exists on a spectrum between all the way the very, very light pale green, all the way down to the deepest, darkest, like navy forest green. That's a spectrum. Okay, this shirt that I'm wearing is it's like a tank toppy shirt. But this, like, I can have a halter top with no sleeves to a tank top all the way to a turtleneck with long sleeves. That is a spectrum. This lipstick, I can wear a lipstick from either this color as a spectrum, or this, like, I can wear like from chapstick all the way to like a deep black matte, or I could do like a lesser matte to a dark, like a lot of matte, a less gloss. Like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, there is nothing in this. Like, I can do like a cookie. I'm just like looking at my cookies. I'm just like, I can have a cookie that's a small cookie, a big cookie. I can have a lot of chocolate chips, a little bit of chocolate chips. Like, I can have no chocolate chips in one cookie, and then like basically one big chocolate chip in this other cookie, and then everything else in between is a spectrum. Like, it's just, there is nothing that you can have a car. You can have cars in general, which, can go from like just vehicles or just transportation, from like a skateboard, your feet with no wheels, all the way to the world's fastest car, or like, bike. Like, it's just like, when I say everything on this planet exists on some sort of spectrum, to sit here and say that human gender expression is binary. It is preposterous, y'all. It is preposterous to say that a human expression exists on a binary. Is like, even the physical biological expression doesn't exist on a binary. Like, even the penises themselves, the actual phallic organ itself, you can have really, really tiny small ones, micro ones, and like even inverted ones, which is really just a vagina. But you can have like a very tiny one, or you can have a big old giant one that's, like I say, a third leg. You could have, like, it's just like, even the organ itself exists on a spectrum from basically non-existent to gigantic. And I'm sure, like, lady parts are the same. It's just like, you can have like the lips. All of our lips look different. It's just like, I'm spending too much time here, but y'all understand what I'm saying. Just the fact that people feel like gender exists on a binary yes or no, 0 or 1, it is like, I just, like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. So anyways, but all of the people who exist on that spectrum of anything that is not vagina and you better look like a woman, or a phallic and you better look like a man, all the queer folk in the middle, sorry, the patriarchy says you are at the bottom. And it is just, y'all, all these things are like, once you wake up from the matrix, you wake up from all these things, you just realize how dumb, how stupid, how ignorant all of these things are. And how like, I say, how could we let all these things penetrate our psyche so deeply? Because that's how they were created. They were created to do that. But it's like, I don't know. Once you wake up, it's like, how have you not waken up? How do you see this? How can I tell you these facts that I'm telling you right now, and then people will still sit here and fight me and fight me about it? Okay. Next is capitalism. Billionaire class is obviously at the top. The more money you have in capitalism, the more you are quote unquote worth or worthy, or, the better or more valuable you are. And then you got your millionaires, who are your business owners. And I always like to say tier 2 is always the most important tier. And I'll get back to why that is in the middle, in the end, later. But tier 2, that's middle management for you. And middle management is important. So capitalism, it says if you are a billionaire, you are in the ruling class, you're the 1%, you control the world, you can have whatever you want. Millionaires, which are like, your business owners, I want to say CEOs, but we'll get there in a second. So then you have your upper working class. You went to school, you became a doctor, you became a lawyer. You are still respectable. You are quote unquote upper middle class, although what really is upper middle class, because like making six figures when someone, two steps above you is making billions of dollars. And I always, my favorite analogy, if you count to a billion, how long would it take? To count to a billion, it takes 31 and a half years. And people like Elon Musk are about to have their first trillion. So it's just, it's like the way that they sort class is silly. It's silly. It's dumb, because they don't sort it based on, I don't know. I don't even know what they sort it based on. They just sort, I don't know, median incomes, or I don't know how they sort it, but it's just like, if I make like $200 or $300,000 a year as like a surgeon, I upper middle class, and then I guess there's like rich or like the ultra wealthy, and it's like, I don't know. I just feel like when you compare someone who has to work to make $300,000 a year to someone who makes millions of dollars per second, I just feel like those are not one or two like classifications away. It just is. So if you look at other divisions of labor, there are only two classes. There are the people who have to work for their money, and then there are the people who don't. And that's really all it is. All this stuff, all this separation, this is for us, the people at the bottom of this two-tier system, to be able to fight amongst each other. Because if we had class solidarity amongst millionaires and our $300,000 doctors, lawyers, and amongst our middle class like teachers and nurses and technicians, and then also amongst our like essential workers, our quote unquote lower class, with like our bus drivers, our grocery stockers, our sanitation workers, janitors, street cleaners, like if all of us, from your street cleaner all the way up to your most successful like lawyer or business owner, if all of us work together as one class, the working class, and not fight against each other for this, like for these respectability politics, like, oh, you have to move trash, I get to heal people, so I'm better than you. It's like they are both extremely necessary jobs for society. So how can you like, I don't know, like can society run if we don't have someone picking up the trash? No. Can society run if we don't have doctors? No. So why is one considered more noble or more valuable than the other? Oh, I know why, because it's a narcissistic social hierarchy. Because like when you look at it from an objective point of view of like what is needed for people to survive, a teacher is just as important as a doctor. A doctor is just as important as a grocery store cashier or a grocery store like person, who is just as important as like a farmer. We need all of them. If we don't, as just as important as an engineer, just as important as anyone, like we need all of them. And so to split all of us up and say, oh, you get this much and you get that much and you get this much and you get that much, and even though your job is literally just as important for society to function as this job over here, I'm gonna pay you way, 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 way less, where you can barely live, and I'm gonna pay you way, 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 way more, so that you feel like you've done something great and this person hasn't. The narcissist has won. The narcissist has won. The narcissistic system has won, because once you can separate, segregate, and stack, rank order people, narcissism has won. You have now made the haves and the have-nots. You have made the I have more than you and you don't. You now have groups of people who have power, and then groups of people who do not have power. Again, your power comes from within, and no one can take that from you. And once you realize that, you will wake up from the matrix. But we'll get there a little later. So, anyway, so that is, those are the very stupid classes of capitalism. Corporatism, I always like to put corporatism in here because I feel like people, whenever I go through capitalism, they still, when they think of like restructuring society, they still think of corporate structures. They still think of having like a CEO or a president, and they still think of having like a VP, and then like, your regular individual contributors, or like your consultants or your analyst or whatever. And then they put, people, if you don't have a job in a corporate capitalist world, you're worthless. You are worthless. Like you are bottom of the barrel. You have nothing. If you don't function in a way that lets me exploit you and extract value from you and your body and your soul and your energy, then you don't deserve to be on planet Earth, according to the corporate capitalist system. And so I like to point out that it is the hierarchy that is the problem, and not like the structure of hierarchy that is a problem, and not just like, oh, CEOs are paid too much. It's like, no, everyone should be paid the same. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you have a corporation and you have janitors who clean the building, you have analysts who, analyze the numbers, you have consultants who talk to the clients, and you have, I don't know, someone else who does something else, like, can you have any of those people and still have the business run? If you cannot have not one of those persons, and the business will no longer run, if you take away that person, then that person deserves just as much money as everybody else. If you can take away a person and the business will still run, then that person didn't need to be there anyways. Like, that's that, and then all of the profit should be equally distributed among everyone at the job. And everyone at the job, if they feel like we need to hire another person, that means our pay will go down because we have to split it amongst more people. That means whenever we hire someone else as a company, we will be very intentional about ensuring that we actually need that person because we're about to lose money for it. And then we will ensure that because we are getting this new person, we know that our revenue will increase. And so at the end of the day, everyone's salary will increase because we'll be making more revenue, which will then be split evenly amongst the people. See how that works? We won't have useless people walking around because we will not vote to have a useless person because that will impact all of our income. And then everyone will work hard to ensure that the company is successful because everyone knows that the success is dependent on everyone equally, and all of the profits will be distributed equally. So, you will create a community when you pay everyone the same versus a hierarchy and a power structure and ass kissing and politics that have to happen in order for you to quote unquote rise the ranks in corporate America. And then you know what else it will solve? Like, there's this thing, like in corporate America, you can be really good at your job and love your job and want to do your job, but if you want to do more money, you have to become someone's manager. You have to do something else in order for you to get more money. But there are so many people, I know so many people who just like love their job and want to do their job and enjoy doing their job, and they should just be able to stay in that job for their entire life if they want to, and they will become an expert at that job, and they will do that job better than anyone on planet Earth. And they could just stay in their job and enjoy it and do it while the company will grow in revenue because of all of that long-term expertise that someone is accumulating from doing the same job over time versus having to move around and shift just to get more money. All of that will contribute to the momentum and the long-term growth of the company. So it's like the corporate structure literally benefits nobody but the people, but CEOs and shareholders. So they're the only people who benefit. Like, they make millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, while the people who are actually generating the value make $100,000 a year or less. And so if you people never challenge this, but if you took all the millions of dollars that all the CEOs and board members are hoarding for themselves and evenly distributed it amongst all of the employees, 90% of the employees would get a raise. Like, so way more people would get a raise than not. But there are so many people who advocate for the corporate structure because they feel like one day they'll get to the top, and they don't want to mess up the structure, because when they get to the top, they want to be able to enjoy the benefits of being an exploiter, of being a person who can extract value for no work at all from themselves. Like, it's like people uphold awful structures because they hope one day they can be the awful person themselves benefiting from it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? That is so strange. I think that's weird. So anyways, racism is obviously a hierarchy based on race. I'm putting the European person at the top. And I will say, if order of operations was patriarchy, classism / capitalism / corporate structures, those kind of came all at the same time. Because, they had kings and queens and then like the servants, or like the serfs or the peasants. Like, that is still hierarchy, even in government. So corporate is my representation of hierarchy even in government. There should not even be hierarchy in government, y'all, but we'll get to that another day. So the pores, the pores and the kings and queens in the serf in the classism world, started getting together and have class solidarity, boom, they put in racism so that the poors can have some sort of power over over another marginalized class, and now you have racism. Racism was created just to appease poor white people who were being exploited. Like that's all it was. It's like, oh, you don't want to be exploited? Well, don't turn against me. Here, have these black people. You can have the blacks. You can take from them. Leave us alone. I know we're the problem, but don't look over here. Look over there. So that's racism. The structure I have for racism is, white people on top, and then there are your Asians, which are, Chinese, specifically Chinese and Japanese Asian folks. They have, they are the quote unquote model minority, which I see a lot of Asian people are waking up to the fact that they are being used. So shout out to y'all. And then, other brown people is really what I put for tier 3. Indians, Pacific Islander, Middle Eastern, or other brown people. And then Native American and Latin American folks are tier 4. And I used to have Native Americans in tier 3, but after doing more research on Native Americans, I'm like, no. The white government, they hate Native Americans because they remind everyone that this is stolen land and that it actually does not belong to white people. And so white people have been doing their best to essentially eradicate and extinct Native Americans. Like there is a hard agenda against Native Americans to get them out of here, because once all the Native Americans are gone, white people have no one to really hold them accountable to saying like, oh, this is no longer your land. Like, as long as Native Americans exist, there is the small chance that white people will be overthrown, put back in their own countries, and Native Americans can have their land back. As long as the rightful owner to America is alive, the narcissistic white government, white people of America, will try to take them out, because they are too much of a reminder of what they've done. And then it's like, and they're the only people who can hold them accountable. I can't explain that more, but like, if the Native Americans were gone, who would be fighting for America? This land is the rightful owners of the Native Americans, but if you eradicate the rightful owners, then it's basically whoever can beat me can take this, but until then, this is mine, because I've unalived the people who actually own this. So as long as Native American people are alive, they are a threat to the United States. They are a threat to the white American United States establishment. And so they have been doing everything in their power to get rid of them as quickly and as quietly as possible, with as much plausible deniability between the government and the deaths of Native Americans as possible. And so for that reason, I brought them down into the 4th tier. And I am so sorry for what's happening to Native American people. And at the bottom, I did put Black people because while we are not under the attack of genocide, right? It's like, but I always do say there are things that are worse than death. There are things that are worse than death. So many Black people during the transatlantic slave trade literally jumped overboard and unalived themselves in the transatlantic, in the Atlantic Ocean, because they were like, I would rather be dead than be a slave. And I, as a person who has again taken the red pill and awakened from the matrix, I too have realized I would rather be dead than be enslaved. And this is why I'm not having any more children, because children are a form of enslavement. Marriage is a form of enslavement, and I'll talk about that another day. But yes, so Black people they keep us alive, as well as long they keep us alive, oppressed, and they use us as a tool for propping up their own power. They extract ideas, they extract culture, they extract music, they extract labor, they extract spirit. They literally extract the spirit of Black people and consume it and consume it. Ugh, so nasty, for their own gain and benefit. And so because of that, and then because they're narcissists and narcissistic abusers, of course, whenever they have a victim, they are going to make sure they DARVO, which is, anytime the victim's like, hey, this is wrong, the D is for defend. They will defend themselves or deflect, maybe. They're going to argue. They're going to reverse victim, which is white people's freaking favorite thing to do. It's like, oh no, I'm the victim. Oh no, I'm being racism against. Oh no, you are discriminating against me, the white person. Yeah, they always do that. And then I think the last one is offense. Is like they go on, and then they go on the offense. Yes, and that is the thing is they go and they start doing the slander campaigns, the public ridicule, the attack. So the propaganda, the propaganda that they have done against Black people across this here global earth is nuts. The fact that as a woman, as a Black person, I have to sit here and Google not only what countries are safe for women whenever I want to travel, but then I also have to Google what countries are safe for Black people. And I have to watch all these YouTube videos about Black people being spat on or Black people being yelled at or Black people being just all this crap that Black people have to deal with overseas and in America. It is due to the propaganda that has been exported about Black people across the globe. There is not a show on TV, just like you can't find a show that shows a single, happy, thriving woman with no husband and no children. You will be hard pressed to find a show that has Black people shown in a positive light, especially if that movie contains white and Black people. I was gonna say, like, if it's just all Black people, you can find some good, like, like a good Wakanda Black Panthers, like mostly Black people. But the moment you have a show that is like written and directed by a white person or a majority white cast or staff, any Black characters are going to be sassy. They're going to have attitude. They're going to be either be dumb or they're going to be really like either really dumb or really smart. It's going to be one of those two. You never have like an average intelligence Black person. It's like either they're like so dumb there's like comedic relief, or they're so intelligent they're really just a tool. Like they're just like, I'm trying to think of something I saw recently, Stranger Things. Ugh, disgusting. While fun show, the racism when it came to the daughter, so many Black stereotypes there, so many stereotypes in general. First one that comes to mind is Sinclair, last name Sinclair, the girl, the only Black girl in the show. She had all this gross attitude that just didn't even make sense, but she was extremely intelligent. Or like the Proud Family with Dejanay. Yes, dark-skinned Black women specifically. Y'all, if y'all see a dark-skinned Black woman, she's going to be loud, she's going to be ratchet, she's going to be sassy, she's going to have attitude. She's likely going to be dumb and used by men. But occasionally she will be intelligent, but like not regular intelligent, just like, again, her intelligence will be a tool to move the plot of the show, but it won't be an intelligence of her own, like that she uses for herself. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but when Black people are smart, it's only for the use of the white character. Like, that's it. That's all. It's like, it's never because, and the other quick stereotype that's in there is like that Max, the redheaded white girl, she ended up with the Black guy. And that is something I've also always noticed, is that the only time they will have white characters interact with Black characters in any sort of like positive or romantic way is if it's a redhead. Whenever that whole white people are gingers thing like came out and was happening, all the Black people were like, "Oh my God, we love gingers. What's the matter with gingers?" And it made me reflect on, like Kim Possible. She had a Black best friend, redhead. Chelsea from That's So Raven. She was the best friend of a Black woman, but she was a redhead. It's just like there will never be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman who is best friends with a Black woman or Black person, and there'll never be like a Black person who dates a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white person, because in white people's mind, red-haired women are like lower on the white totem pole. They are the lowest of the white totem pole, right? They say that gingers have no souls or something stupid like that, and so they will always put the lowest social totem pole of white woman with the Black people because they see us very similar, very much the same. And so Black people have always liked redheads because redheads have always been like kind of like pushed in our face as like, oh, a white companion. But I'm like, do we like redheads because we like redheads, or do we like redheads because that's the only type of people who we've ever seen as as a white person who have interacted with Black people in a positive way? And I had a redheaded Irish boss one time, and she was a bitch. So I'm like, I don't know, redheads. I don't know. They white people to me. They are redheaded women beautiful. I will, wait, those freckles, the red hair, gorgeous. Are they still white and white people? Yes. Do they have a sprinkle more like humanity than your average white person? I will say yes, but it's just a sprinkle, and they are still many of them very much indoctrinated by the program that is racism, that is white supremacy, white narcissism culture. They once you come into America, boop, they got with the program. They get with the program. So the next narcissistic social hierarchy is Abrahamic religions. So I'm always coming for Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, because it's a three-headed snake or a three-headed dragon, a three-headed dog, whatever you want to say. But the body, the Abraham being the father of these nations, and then all the nations they are all the same. So there's Catholicism is under there. Wherever there is one supreme male God who says he created everything, including women and children, and he should be obeyed, and he is the ultimate authority, and he is an external God outside of you, and he is above you and you are below him, and not from like a physical standpoint, like heaven versus hell, but from a hierarchical moral standpoint. Like, this God is above, like he's better than you, is perfect, all knowing, all these things, and they are outside of you, and you have to do something to go reach them. And in the meantime, you are this lowly, valueless, like not worthy, stupid individual. That's the hierarchy has been created. Women will be subjugated, and the whole religion. I don't want to say the whole thing should go in the trash, but because again, I've read the Bible. I used to be a deep Bible belt thumping Christian. Nah, I was never a Bible thumping Christian, but I lived in the Bible belt in the deep down South, and I went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday for Bible study. Every summer we did summer school. We did conferences. Like I was on the media team. Like I was in the church, y'all. So I know my Bible, and so when I read the Bible, and then when I cross-reference the Bible across other religions, other belief systems, like there is truth to the stories in the Bible. But because, again, these are narcissistic religions, putting men and patriarchy on top and subjugating everyone else, giving haves and have-nots, people who have, the spiritual touch, who are allowed in, who are pure, who are clean, who can go into the temple, and versus who cannot. Once you have those separations of peoples, you have a narcissistic hierarchy. And because the Bible and Christianity and in Islam and Judaism have been perpetuated by men, have been led by men, these religions have been led by men and created by men and facilitated by men and edited by men for the last circa 10,000 years, which is around the time these things were created. They have warped all of the stories that did come from some truth and made them in their favor. And like, that is what a narcissist will do. They have essentially made the Bible a book of gaslighting. It's like, yeah, this did happen, but here's how you're supposed to think about it. Like, reading something about the Book of Mary, and like essentially, we know that giving birth is a hard and painful and messy thing, but the Catholic Church didn't want to have to acknowledge that Jesus came through the birth canal of a woman, because they felt like that would, one, make Mary less pure, and make make Jesus less pure. And so they started perpetuating like the lie that Mary gave birth to Jesus, and it was like basically pain-free, and he basically didn't even come through the vaginal canal. It was like, because if she came through the vaginal canal, that makes her not a virgin, or like having anything go in or out of a vagina is apparently makes you unpure as a woman. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be literally the savior of planet Earth. But if the savior of planet Earth comes through a birth canal the natural way, then that woman is now worthless. That woman is now like less sacred. Like that baby who was the savior of the planet is now worth less because he came through a woman. Isn't that crazy? So they all of these religions, they strip away the power and the beauty and the femininity that is womanhood, that is giving birth. And not to say that giving birth makes you a woman. Don't do that. But it's something that only the body of a woman can do. It is something only the body of only a female body can do. And because the patriarchy and these patriarchal religions demonize anything that is feminine, anything that can be like literally from our lady parts to giving birth, to being empathetic, to being nurturing, to being kind, to being intelligent, to being, discerning, like to literally anything that they associate with femininity, because they have the patriarchy demonizes femininity so much. They have literally taken away the strength and the power that Mary went through giving birth to Jesus in order to uphold the patriarchy. So, y'all, I just cannot deal with it. So anyway, so yeah, the hierarchy, I never got to the hierarchy. The hierarchy of religion is, on the top is the prophet. This is the person who says they can hear directly from God. They know what God is saying. They talk to God every day and God actually talks back. And here is what he said. And so that is who the prophet is. And this is where narcissists thrive, y'all. Narcissists have no problem with lying. So if it gives me as a narcissist power to say God told me this and I'm telling you what God told me, versus saying I feel this way and this is what I'm telling you to do, a narcissist will lie and say God said blah 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 blah. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. Like, y'all, like all of these cult leaders are become cult leaders by way of religion, because religion is inherently patriarchal. These religions specifically, but and these are the ones that create the most cults. They are inherently patriarchal and inherently hierarchical, and they already have like the foundation of brainwashing of women are less than and men are more than and men deserve power. And then so if you take a narcissist and you put on top of that I am the next Moses, I am the next Jesus, God is telling me this and only I can hear it and no one else can't, and so you have to listen to me. That's like a narcissist bread and butter. Like power with no accountability, that is all a narc will want. That's a narc's wet dream. Power and no accountability. That is why all these systems exist in the first place, is so that they can usurp power from a population while blaming the system, while blaming like the external entities, while saying it, washing your hands. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. It's it's just the system. It was the company. It was this. It was that. It was the third. Like, you are 100% benefiting from the system, from the company, from whatever this thing that is in place, and you know it and you use it to your advantage. But instead of saying it was my fault, of course they never will. They will blame the system. So the prophet is up first, and then you have your priests and your pastors and your popes and your first families, all of these heads of churches, all these heads of institutions, all these people who are racking in the dough. They are your conduit. If you're one of those, you are seen as moral, you are seen as righteous, you are seen as the person who is the person you are supposed to be. Infallible. Yes. And then you got your devout members, your deacons, your ushers, your church members, your volunteers, like people who have dedicated their lives to the church, but they're not, a actual pastor, or like the head of a cult. Then you're still seen very favorably, and you are given favor in the church. And then you have your general congregation / your inconsistent churchgoer. So these are basically people who just like identify as Christian, or they identify as Muslim, or they identify as Jewish, but they don't they don't do the practicing of it, but they identify, and that is that's enough for some people. Again, I don't subscribe to any of these religions, obviously, so I don't want to like shame. I don't want to shame people who feel like they should go to church more. That I don't want to shame them by saying you're like an inconsistent churchgoer. But in the eyes of the narcissistic hierarchy, you are lower on this social church totem pole because you are not as dedicated or devout as you should be. You're not as obedient as you should be. You're not as controlled as you should be. And so you will be frowned upon within the hierarchy of religion. But what's worse than a person who inconsistently comes to church? Someone who don't go to church at all, someone who's not religious, someone who says, "Oh, I'm atheist," or "I'm agnostic," or God forbid, I'm like a Buddhist or something. Like you're not even an Abrahamic religion. What is wrong with you? You're not even worshiping the right God. Like, you should be cast from the world. And matter of fact, my Abrahamic God, he will do that. He will cast you to hell at the first chance he gets. And guess what? I'll be happy about it. I'll be happy for your suffering because I'm a Christian and I deserve all the good things in life because I've suffered here on earth by dedicating my life to this church, in hopes of getting to heaven later, while you haven't done that and you've had all this joy here on earth. Ew, boo, yuck. um, and so you will now, you will be damned to hell. So that's that. And then finally, our last narcissistic social hierarchy is ableism or ageism. And I put these two together because they are both categorized based on a person's mental and physical capacity to work. Like, that is the bar. And so if you have some sort of disability, you have a lessened capacity to work in the eyes of ableism. And so the top of the hierarchy is, of course, if you are able-bodied and neurotypical, and like as an adult, able-bodied neurotypical adult. I should put adult here. And so you look like me, you walk like me, you talk like me, you think like me. That's because all narcissism is. They want you to, when you're easily controlled, if everyone thinks the same. Like, that's why they don't like neurodivergence. That's why they don't like critical thinkers. They don't like anyone who thinks differently, because then you challenge the system. All of these things, they are a structure, a matrix, if you will, that has been put in place so that people can see exactly what they want you to see. And that is how the programming starts. You are programmed when you grow up and all you see are heterosexual couples. All you see are white people who are successful and rich. All you see are billionaires who are happy and thriving and living the life. Like, if that is all you see, then you literally will not think anything different. You have you basically don't have the ability to. It's very hard to think outside of a box when you've never seen outside the box. The only thing you know is this box, is inside this box, that we're all born into this box. So it's like, how are you, as a person who was born and raised inside this box, supposed to know that the world is so much bigger than the box that you're in? You have no idea. The box is closed. You can't see outside the box. And that's what they do. So second tier for ableism / ageism is mild managed or invisibly disabled. So like people with like glasses, that's like, it's not a big disability. You still look mostly regular, sure. Matter of fact, you can even get contacts. So we don't even have to know that you can't see really well. So just, oh, you got diabetes, just get one of those like little sticker patches on the back of your arm and you'll be fine. Or like, take your shots in the morning. Don't bring it to work or bring it to school. I don't want to see it, but you'll be fine. Oh, you got asthma. Okay, fine. You got to do your little pump. That's, that's whatever. It's cool. Just, don't let me see it too often. You got allergies. That's fine. You got to carry an EpiPen. It's cool. You still look regular and, you can come to work every day. So it's cool. Yeah. You might have an allergic flare every once in a while, but, whatever. So if you have something that is like really common or mild or managed or invisible, as long as the ableist society doesn't see it, it's basically like it's not even there. So you're fine. Tier 3, I put physically, mentally disabled, requiring minor or common accommodations. So these are things like wheelchairs, or people who are deaf or blind, or high masking ADHD or autism spectrum disorder or anxiety or obesity, etc. So this is just things that are like, we see them commonly every day, but they make you think differently, or it's like a really, I guess, like if you're in a wheelchair, I can see that you're in a wheelchair. It's like, I have to put up ramps so that you can get into my buildings, but like, I'd prefer if you really just didn't show up. But hey, if you do, I gotta accommodate, and it'd look bad if I didn't accommodate. So I guess I will. But that's what it is. As long as you can lean into being able-bodied and neurotypical enough, and the law is on your side a smidge, I guess I can accept you into my society as a narcissist, but I won't like it. But I will. And then for the last two categories, I really just put others deemed mentally or physically unfit or incapable of meeting an arbitrary, naturally unattainable goal level of production that is typically unrealistic for even able-bodied people. And I know that's a mouthful, but basically it's just like, really, it's just anything else. It's just anything else that they deem as you are unfit or incapable. And children can go really, really anywhere in here, because if you don't think like an adult, even if you're only 3 years old, that's a problem. If you can't work the way that I want you to work, even if you're only 4.5, that's your fault. And that's how the discrimination, like children have the least amount of rights on this planet. Like people, I'm just like, it just makes me so upset. People don't see children as human beings. They are just human beings with a lower capacity of critical thinking and physical prowess because they're small and they're young. But that doesn't mean they don't deserve respect. That doesn't mean they don't deserve kindness. That doesn't mean they don't deserve patience. That doesn't mean they don't deserve like to not be hurt in some sort of way. That does not mean they should be taken advantage of. Like all the things that you wouldn't do to an adult, you shouldn't do them to a kid. Like it's just they're humans. Like how you treat one human is how you should treat all humans, no matter the age. Should you accommodate based on level of intellect and experience? Sure. But all of these things are a narcissist taking advantage of a vulnerable person. Like the more they create systems that create vulnerable populations of people, and then they take advantage of the people who are vulnerable. Like patriarchy makes women vulnerable and then exploits women for labor, exploits women for our bodies. Classism literally usurps money and creates a lower class of people and then exploits the people without money for their labor. Corporatism, it literally creates a structure where all the people are in the position who lead the company or are at the top literally do nothing to generate value but has the most money while taking advantage of all the labor of the people who are at the bottom of the totem pole of the corporate America. Or if they're unemployed, or they'll just fire you, if you don't generate the value they want you to generate. If you cost more to them than it is for them to suck money out of you, then you're gone. Racism creates an entire class of people or race of people. Race doesn't exist. I get a whole ethnic background of people who are a vulnerable population so that they can then exploit Black people, exploit Native Americans, exploit Latinos or immigrants. Literally creates classes just for the purpose of exploitation. And then Abrahamic religions, same thing. They rip people's spiritual power away from them. God lives inside all of us. We have so much power in us, like our intuition, our spirit, all of our spirit guide that lives inside here, like that talks to us through different modes, methods, signs, however you want to call it. Each of us has our different way, but they tell you don't listen to that little voice in your head. Don't listen to your gut. Don't listen to your intuition. No. Listen to God. And how do you listen to God? Through the Bible. Who wrote the Bible? Me. So really you're just listening to me, but I'm gonna tell you it was God. It's like God, like every one of us has an intuition that tells us this is weird or this is right or this is wrong, but they teach us from very young to ignore it so that by the time, which creates a vulnerable population, literally religion will make people feel like the lower self-esteem, less vulnerable, creates a vulnerable group of people and then exploits them for their money. Give me your tithes, 10% every month, offering every time I pass around this plate. You better put no less than $5 in there. Donate your time, donate your services to the church. Like creates a vulnerable population and then exploits it or connects it to politics. They love, connecting religion to politics, saying, this baby, pro-life. And so now it's like, oh, God said babies are amazing and women should have babies and whatever. And so they connect narcissistic systems will, get together to ensure that their vulnerable populations remain vulnerable and exploited. Like they'll connect and work in an intersectional way. I always say I'm an intersectionality expert because they will work together across intersections to achieve their goal, which is keeping us vulnerable and then thus exploited. Okay. And then, of course, able-bodied and neurotypical / ageism children are such a vulnerable population, and they love it. They eat, like we just saw the files be the 3 million folders, files, emails, pictures, videos released, and what did we learn? That children are a vulnerable population that are exploited. Okay, great, wonderful. And then, of course, I don't know if you all are familiar with like the psychiatric system or like any place where there are mentally ill people. Again, homeless people. Some of the highest concentrations of mental illness are in the homeless population. It's like, were they homeless first and then mentally ill, or mentally ill and homeless? It doesn't matter. But people who are mentally vulnerable because of trauma that happened to them when they were a vulnerable child, carried throughout adulthood because they never got the help that they needed to become, so that they stayed a vulnerable person in a vulnerable person population, so that they can then be exploited in some way, shape, or form. I hope we've learned something today. Okay. And so, Bri, what does this have to do with your second favorite topic, which is the 7 layers of awareness? So there are 7 layers of awareness. I'll put a link to the video that I did that actually went through all of these in depth, so I won't go through it again. I will do 1 and 2 because those are the most important for this conversation. So level 1 and the awareness is unconscious awareness, survival, or intuition. In this state of being. So like I want you to think of levels of awareness as frequencies. Frequencies is the best way to describe it. Because one, everything on this earth does run on a frequency. Like this board in my hand has, you can't see it, but I'm holding up like a whiteboard. It vibrates. The particles in this whiteboard are vibrating at a certain frequency. I'm vibrating at a certain frequency. Like everything that is solid is just vibrating so fast or so slow, I don't know, one of the two, that it feels solid, but the particles in water are vibrating in a way that they feel liquid. The particles in the air are vibrating in a certain way that they feel like not there. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And when you think of frequencies as like, radio stations, if you are on one frequency at a radio station, you will be able to hear certain music. But then if you turn to a different frequency, you will be able to hear different music, but it's the same radio. So as a human, we have the ability to vibrate at different frequencies depending on our mental state of being. So if you are vibrating at a lower frequency, you will have a lower awareness of everything that is happening. But when you change your frequency by things like meditation, introspection, like by presentness, centeredness, breath work, like all those things, they help raise your frequency. Like bells are a way that humans can raise their frequency. Different I have incense is another good one. Like different like smokes and smells. Like there are so many things that ancient people, natural people, herbal people, like they know, like Reiki, like all these people, all these things that people in the West try to tell you, oh, that's woo woo, juju, witchcraft, or whatever. Again, this narcissistic white government, they steer us away from all of the ancient techniques that worked, because they know that once people rise to a higher frequency, the programming doesn't work. The programming doesn't work. I can't emphasize that enough. When you raise your frequency, you raise your awareness. And when you raise your awareness, you can see through the programming. And once you see through the programming can't control you. You're no longer running the program anymore. You will not run the narcissistic program. The narcissistic program only works at a low frequency. It literally only works well when people raise their frequency, raise their level of awareness, raise their freedom, like their ability to think independently, think critically, come to their own logical conclusions, trust their self, trust their gut, trust that I have this understanding and I know it is real because of my intelligence, because I trust myself, because I've done my own work, I've done my own research, I've done my own introspection, I've done my own deep thinking. And so now I know what the heck is going on. So, but they keep us trapped in these jobs. They keep women with like knocked up with kids. They keep men in this like stupid patriarchal state so that the vast majority of humanity, but I don't want to say humanity because I'm not. Now, I'm going to say the vast majority of humanity, but specifically America. America is the most low vibrational place on planet Earth right now. I can tell you that for a fact. This place is full of narcissistic programming, and the programming only works when people are at a low frequency. But that is also why the great awakening that is happening, that people are saying like, oh my God, the great awakening is happening. People are waking up. That is because hey, stick with me. The planetary, we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and that has to do with the planetary rotations and the way that the planets are moving. The frequency of Earth is rising. The frequency of planet Earth is rising. And so the frequency of all of the people and entities in it are rising as well, causing our individual frequencies to rise, or make it easier for our individual frequencies to rise, and thus for us to wake up from the narcissistic programming. Like literally the planets are moving into, like, okay, if you're on a radio station in one state or city and then you're driving and you stay on that same radio station and you go into a different like place, the song, like, it'll start getting fuzzy where you were, and then it'll start getting clearer the closer you get to where you're going. You're on the same frequency, but your position has changed. And so that is what is happening with like planet Earth. Planet Earth, the frequency is moving into a place where the frequency of Earth is resonating higher, and so people are waking up. Okay, and so there are 6 to 7 levels of awareness or frequencies that humans can go into or rise to. But, again, this is like ancient wisdom, and different indigenous cultures have this same concept. Like Africa, we call them energy channels, but, in Asia, we call them chakra channels. And I'm sure if I can find some Native Americans, they'll probably have a different Reiki, I think it's somewhere else. But like all of these ancient indigenous cultures everywhere but Europe basically has the same beliefs. Like, I don't want to call it a belief system, because it's like if 85% of the human population understood how nature worked, understood how the world worked, and the spirit world and the metaphysical world and all that, and then 15% showed up and said, no, that's wrong, you're backwards, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm like, for hundreds of thousands of years, this is what we did and this worked. And then you show up, and for the last 10 to 12,000 years, we did what you did. And now here we are with the Epstein files. Okay. So anyways, I don't want to say this is a belief system, because it's more like it's a knowing. Like again, once your frequency gets to the point where you are resonating with the spirit world, like your frequency and the spirit world frequency are on the same channel, you'll know what I'm talking about. But so to start, so level 1, unconscious awareness. This is essentially how people are born. They're not aware of themselves. They're not aware of the things around them. All they know is like, I'm hungry, so I cry. Like, you don't even know that. You're just doing as a baby. You're just doing. But adults can be in level 1, and a lot of women are stuck in level 1 when they are in crap relationships with narcissistic men. Because what it'll look like is that their actions will be driven by instincts and deep conditioning, with little to no self-reflection or introspection, meditation, all the things I talk about. And they're often influenced by fear, trauma, or habitual behavior. So like if you are a woman and you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, you are living day by day just to survive. You're walking on eggshells. You're doing anything you can not to upset this man. Like you when you're deep in an abusive relationship, you don't know. You are unaware that life could be different. You are unaware that you deserve better. You are unaware that other people will love you differently. You are unaware that this person doesn't actually even love you. You're unaware that they are using you for everything you got. You are unaware that you can change. You can do different. You can pick a different path. You don't know that any of those things exist. You don't feel like, in your heart, you don't feel like you have any other choice but to live this way. You are in that box with no other options in sight. And so you are just living your life day by day, trying to survive, living off of habits, etc. And then these people living off of fight or flight responses is like, and these are people who, when they never heal that trauma and they just live in this state of unconscious awareness, like you can say something to that person and they'll just snap. Like a person who has been a victim for a very long time, until they heal that trauma, you can't talk to them. They will abuse you. They will hurt you. Because they are fight or flight. It's just like anything you say to them, they feel like they're being attacked, because the only thing that they know inside their box is that people attack them. Like they've only been in a box where people attack them. So if you say something that is like, a gentle critique or like a suggestion even, they are ready to bite your head off, because they are still under this this narcissistic programming that they are worthless. They like those like they are sleepwalking through life. They don't know what is happening. A lot of these people have addiction issues, right? Because they feel like they all of their life they are in this box and they have nowhere else to go. And so they start doing substances as a way to escape their reality, but they don't understand that they can leave the box. So that is level 1. That is like not most people, but most people are actually here at level 2. And this is the one that, here, let me see if I can. Okay. Level 2 is this. I don't want to say it's my favorite level, but it is the most common. It's not my favorite level. Like, it's not like this is a terrible level to be at. Like out of 6, y'all, level 2, you got a ways to go. But this is where most people live. This is where the vast majority of America lives. They have subconscious awareness, they are emotional and programmed. They are influenced by hidden beliefs, emotions, and past programming. Okay. So patriarchy, right, is a hidden belief. It is the past programming. Every time you watch a TV show that shows a man and a woman getting together, living happily married, having kids, the man making all the money, or they show you my rich life or Cribs, or like if you're looking at capitalism, when they show you all these amounts of wealth in a positive light, or when they show you like people for corporate, if they show you people in a corporate job in a positive light, whenever they show you white people in all of these movies and all of these things in positive lights, whenever they show all these religious people in positive lights, and whenever they show able-bodied and neurotypical people only and in these positive lights, all of that is programming. All of that is teaching you, the human being, that this is what life is. This is what it's supposed to be. And I feel like, part of that is probably why I am such a, well, one, I have ADHD, so I am a neurotypical person in general. And then I'm also a Cancer, which makes me deeply empathetic. And when you are deeply emotional and in touch with empathetic and in touch with your emotions, it is very hard to disconnect your self from your emotions. And so whenever it's always been that whenever I feel something, I was aware of that feeling, because I've always been like, my emotions are always just been strong, and having strong emotions is a fantastic thing. You should be able to control them. Your actions should be regulated. You should have regulate your emotions, but if you have big or strong emotions, like instead of trying to suppress them or hide them or drug them away, you should look at them and sit in them and figure out where they're coming from. So I've always just been like that. And then I grew up poor. So I didn't have TV. I didn't have TV. I didn't have cable. I didn't have games. I didn't have a lot of things that the normal person has, or like normal, but like I would say, well, the non-impoverished person has. And so I read a lot of books when I was a kid. So I wasn't programmed. The long story short is I was not programmed as a kid. I did not go through the programming system that is watching TV, that is watching movies. And so whenever I grow up into an adult and I'm like meeting all these other people who have all these thoughts and think this way, and I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, you don't see how that's weird. You don't see how that's wrong. You don't see how that's strange. You don't see how that's different. You don't think things couldn't be different. Can't think of nothing else. This is it. I skipped the programming. I skipped the programming class when I was a child. Thank goodness. And so I'm not programmed, but all of that media that most people consume when they are children, that is programming you. That is giving you hidden beliefs that you will not know that you have. And then, so what that'll look like is like actions are semi-automatic. It's like, oh, there's a man in front of me. He likes me. I like him. And while you're supposed to take a step back and like think deeply about that, because all of the movies have told you when a man likes a woman and he seems like a regular, decent-ish man, then you're supposed to be okay pursuing it, or be okay with letting him have access to you. So you don't question if I should think critically or think deeper. So it's like you're just like, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should, because the programming has told you should. So you do. Okay, and you begin to recognize patterns and habits. Like, you notice that everyone, gets married and has kids. You notice that everyone goes to get a corporate American job or pursues a corporate American job. You notice that, white people have more economic and political power, and they take up the most, like, they just happen to be in all these positions of power, even though, and across the entire world, even though um, they are actually the majority of the world. And you notice that Africa is poor, and even though it has the most resources, like, you got some pattern recognition, but you don't question them. You don't question, you see them, but you're just like, that is what it is. Or the programming has already given you a program to run, and so the programming says, oh, well, Black people are just, they're incapable, they are ratchet, they are dumb, they are criminals, they are violent. And so you don't question why Black people are poor in America, because the programming has already run. It's already told you why. It's already given you the reason why. And so why would you question it whenever it presents to you as a pattern of evidence? The evidence is there, and the programming gave you your answer. Nothing else to see here, boys. And then emotional triggers, but may not fully understand or control them. And I love this one when it comes to race specifically, because I'll point out things like, like colonialism or imperialism, or like, slavery, and how the generational impacts or redlining, like, and how it's still happening today. And like the prison system, I'll point out all of these things to white people about how Black people are still oppressed to this day. And then their first reaction is anger. And that's how I always know. That's how I always know if I am talking to a narcissist, a narcissistic person, or a narcissistically programmed person. Any type of narcissistic entity responds to anger and responds with anger when challenged. Like, that is because it's an emotional trigger. Because triggers come from when there is a deep truth on the inside that has been suppressed, that has been repressed, that has been covered, that has been, like, when your truth, like, because everyone has a truth before we go through our programming, before we like go through this world and have to create our ego, which is the thing that guards our true self, our spirit. Before we have all of that, there is your true self, your true essence, who you were as a kid before anyone told you you can't be this or you shouldn't do that. Like, that raw human that you were, they are still there. That person didn't just go away. They're still there, but they've been covered with all of this stuff. They've been lied to, they've been tricked, they've been suppressed. And so if something pokes that person, like, the ego that has been there to protect them, like, that's the anger, the narcissistic rage is literally what it's called, narcissistic rage. It comes out when you poke their ego, when you attack their ego. And that's not, it's like you're not attacking their ego. The ego was built on lies. And so when you bring out the truth, the ego, which was built on lies, feels attacked. Because if my worldview is these humans are one way and these humans are one way and I'm one way, and someone comes along and says, no, actually, these humans are not that way, these humans are not that way, and you could be something else. If I've built my entire foundation of life on these beliefs, of, not to say of course, but like, of course I'm gonna get angry if you try to change that or challenge that. That's, first of all, that's work. Nobody want, especially narcissists or narcissistic people or narcissistic entities, they don't want to have to do work, period. And so to change their belief system, to educate them, to deconstruct all of this crap, they would have to do work. and narcissists, and they don't want to do work. And the narcissistic belief systems, they don't want the work to be done, because then the system will fall. And so the system and the belief systems, they always react with anger. Sometimes, it'll be the victimization. So like, it'll be like the crying and the woe is me. But for the most part, like 90% of the time, well, okay, I don't know. The victimization, the reverse victimization, like, I don't know. I feel like the emotional trigger, the first part is usually anger. And then the victimization, the tears, the white woman tears, right? Those will show up eventually, especially if the anger doesn't like make the person back down. And then the victimization will come. So it'll always be anger first, and then, the tears. And so yeah, so and then self-sabotage. Okay, so examples of this are self-sabotage, which racism is such a like all narcissistic systems are self-sacrificing systems. Like patriarchy is not good for men. It does not help men. Billionaires is not good for billionaires because guess what? Now all the people are not having babies. All the people don't want to work because we're being exploited and we don't like it. No one likes being exploited, and so billionaires want to like we could have such a rich society where everyone does well, but narcissistic systems are so individualistic and want to hold all the wealth and power and goodness of the world just for a few. And so but that's not sustainable. That's not how Mother Nature works. Mother Nature works in cycles, where the cycles that and ecosystems where everyone shares, everyone does their part, and everyone benefits all together. But narcissism is the opposite of that. It's like everyone does what I tell you to do, and then all of the goodness comes to me. And so no system like that is ever going to last very long because it's quite literally unsustainable. So billionaires, it's not, instead of sharing their billions with everyone, they want to keep it. But what's going to do is going to create a class of people who hate billionaires. Hello, Luigi. And then people who end up revolting. It's always going to end in a revolt because nobody wants to be poor and subjugated and exploited for their entire lives. Like that's silly. Corporate America, it's a stupid thing because your workers are not going to work nearly as hard as if they were actually being compensated well and treated well. And your whole entire company would do better if you didn't exploit your workers. But then you wouldn't have as much power as you have. So the trade-off for a narcissist, it is self-sabotaging, but for them, it works because I'm on top white people, right? Racism has been exploiting white people forever. Every time a Black person gets access to something like healthcare, white people, and then white people vote on it. It's just like, can everyone have healthcare, including white people and Black people, or no one has healthcare and white people, you'll have to pay for it, and Black people, they can't afford it, so they won't have it. White people have always voted, I'll just pay for it. They've always voted, I'll pay for it so Black people can't have it. Same thing happened with schools, with nice houses, like everything. Instead of making things easily accessible to everyone, they always say make it extremely inaccessible to everyone. And then the people who can't access it can only be the people with money, and we'll just ensure that white people have money. But what has ended up happening is that obviously the systems of power have been like, okay, we've taken all the money from Black people, we've taken all the money, we've exploited the crap out of Native Americans and Hispanic people, we're exploiting the crap out of brown people who are immigrating over on H-1B visas because they sure are. If you don't know about that, that's a whole nother video. But if you come over on an H-1B visa, they enslave you. And then Asian people who they felt the racism too, especially when COVID happened. And so now it's really just like so now there's like more racial solidarity between all the races outside of white people and white people. And so all the people of color essentially have been like, we are opting out of this stupid racist stuff. And it's just like white people are the only ones who are left. And so the system will then cannibalize white people because it's like, y'all are the only ones with money. Y'all are the only ones who have anything left to exploit. And then also it's a power trip because it's like, why exploit Black people when anyone can exploit a Black person? I want to exploit white people because you have to have power to be able to do that. And that's what Jeffrey showed all of us, and Donald. So that's self-sabotage. All narcissistic systems are self-sabotaging. They're unsustainable. They don't work, but they don't care about, they're not future-oriented people. They kind of are, but like not in an intelligent way, in a selfish and self-sabotaging way. Repeating relationship issues, and then unconscious bias is another example of someone stuck in a level 2 subconscious awareness. So that they have unconscious bias. And so if you are a white person, I always tell white people like 95% of white people are racist. Like it's either you're racist or you don't think you're racist, but you still hold these unconscious biases, and that makes you racist. I don't care. I just don't care what you say. If you're a white person, you're just like you cannot like rap music, but like if you're like rap is not allowed in my house, or like none of my children can listen to rap, like where does that come from? That comes from not liking some of it can be from I don't like what is said in rap music, because I will agree with that. But if it's like, okay, what if I'm listening to a conscious rapper like a Kid Cudi or something like that, if you want to call him a rapper, he's a rapper. I don't know. He's like, he's eclectic. But anyways, there are rappers who are not like, misogynistic, awful, curse wordy rappers. But there are white dads who are still like, no, you can't listen to that in my house. But I'm not racist. I just don't like rap. And it's just like, okay, you're not listening to it, Dad. I am. So why can't I listen to it? And it's just like, it's like you're racist. It's like, oh, you don't want to watch this show full of black people. You don't watch The Proud Family. You don't watch Sister Sister. You don't want to watch Dreamgirls. You don't want to watch any of these, beautiful classic black shows or movies. Not in my house. Like, no, that means you're racist, Dad. Like, or if you're a white woman and you see a black person like in the park just reading a book, or like on a yoga mat, and you just feel the urge to go ask them if they're supposed to be here, you are racist. That's racist, Karen. You feel like you have the authority over a black person. I always say white people need to challenge authority and not challenge minorities, but because white people feel like they are an authority figure over black people or minorities, they feel this need this need to authorize a black person's existence. So it's just like that is the unconscious bias, but they will turn around and say, I'm not racist. Or like that white teacher who called and was just like, yeah, this ice, yeah, I have a student and I went into his files and his parents are from El Salvador, so they might be immigrants, so you should go take care of that. Here's their address. She like broke her teacher privacy privileges or whatever, just to snitch on a 6-year-old kid's parents, to say that they might be illegal when I don't know if they were illegal or not. The ICE hotline that she called was actually a fake hotline meant to have racist people call in people and then have them, blasted on the internet. It was lovely. But it's like that same teacher will absolutely say, I'm not racist. I'm just trying to make sure I'm following the law. I'm just trying to make sure that, that everyone's here legally like they're supposed to be. It's just like, shut the up. You're racist. You're racist. If it bothers you so much. And then this teacher had said that she met the kids' parents and they seem like lovely people. I'm like, so these people, you said they seem like lovely people, you teach their kid probably don't cause you no issues, no problems, probably one of the most obedient and smart and intelligent kids in the class, but because their parents are from a South American country, you, one, assume that they're an immigrant, and then two, call an evil deportation service on them. But you're not racist. Okay. Yeah. And so this is many, many, many. And then I've got just a good slew of examples of white people having unconscious bias. But also, I don't want to just get on black people because get on white people because, again, if you are one of these, you are all of these. So like you can go into religion, and when I say the way that Christians judge, like the way that the unconscious bias they have against non-Christians, and like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the phrase, there's no hate like Christian love. It's like Christians they suck, man, y'all. They are awful. They are some of the most mean-spirited, evil-ass people. I tell you what, not all of them, right? But again, the way I say not all of them is the same way you can say not all white people. The same way you can say not all CEOs are evil. The same way you can say not all men are evil. But here's the thing: when you are raised in these systems and you are the chosen person of this system, like if you are a man raised in the patriarchy, as all men are, it is going to be a minority of people who are not. Everyone goes through the programming. That's the thing. The programming is the default, unless you are lucky enough to somehow escape it. Like you're going to fall into one of these. There is not one person on planet Earth, and the way that as it stands right now with narcissists running the world, there's not one person on planet Earth who will not have to go through not even one of these programs and then deconstruct that program or deprogram themselves from this program that has been forced upon them before they can wake up and come out the other side. Now, how many programs are being run on you at once is the question. It's not if, it's how many. So like I was certainly, the patriarchy, I had to break that. Like while I wasn't, I didn't have racism, the program of racism run on me because I wasn't the chosen person. And within the racism program, I still was a woman in the patriarchy, and so I tried my very best to get to this traditional woman. But hey, turns out I'm queer, and I've been queer. I've always been queer. But it's like it was harder for me to it was hard for me to be programmed. It's okay. If you are the chosen one in any of these narcissistic hierarchies or programs or brainwashing tools or systems or whatever you want to call them, you will have a harder time deprogramming than anyone else because you benefit. And because it's like, because you benefit, you don't see the people who don't benefit, or you don't see how because the system is there and it tells you. First of all, it pretends like the system likes to pretend like it doesn't exist, and then the systems that can't pretend like they don't exist, like a capitalism, they pretend like they are fair and righteous and just systems that anybody can win, when in reality all of these systems have an ideal candidate in mind. And so when that ideal candidate shows up, that ideal candidate gets picked, but that candidate doesn't know that they were the ideal candidate. They just figured that all the hard work they've done must have worked. And so when you are the ideal candidate for any of these patriarchal systems, you don't know that you have been picked based on a system. You think you've been picked based on your own merit. And so when you are not the ideal, and you can so easily see that all of these people that are being picked are not better than me. I've done more work, I've studied more, I've seen more, I'm more qualified, etc., etc. It's easy for the people who are not being picked, who deserve to be picked, who should be picked, to be upset. But the system tells you that you shouldn't. Those people tells the person who was picked that you should. That they are crazy. And literally, and that's what all narcissists do. Once they pick their victim, they tell the victim, the newest victim, that all those other people who are saying that the narcissist, is a bad person, they're crazy. Don't listen to them. You're the prize, baby girl. You're the prize. That is what happens when you are a man in the patriarchy. You do everything and you get everything, and you feel like you deserve it because you did stuff and it worked out. When you are a billionaire in a classist system, Jeff Bezos, freaking Zuckerberg, you think that, oh, because I invented this thing, that I deserve this stuff. When in reality, you had a millionaire mommy and daddy that gave you a $200,000 or $100,000 or $100, however much money lump sum to kickstart your business, and so you never had to work nearly as hard as someone who came from lower class. You literally started with a head start, and then you get to the top, and you're just like, oh, I deserve this. So I could do that across all of these systems, where it's like people, so everyone has to deprogram all of these things, but it's always going to be the hardest for people who are at the top of these systems to deprogram, because they benefit so much and they don't see that they're benefiting, because they think that they've done what they need to do to get what they've gotten. They think that they deserve it. They think that they are better than everyone else because the system tells them that they are. So anyway, my question to you all is, what is your level of awareness? When this video has, it's already way too long, so I won't go into the other ones, but it is fascinating stuff. It is truly fascinating stuff. Understanding like the levels of awareness that humans have, and the frequencies that we can vibrate at, and how those, like every time you break down a system, like it's like, if people see it, whenever like a white person they see racism for the first time, it's just like they wake up, and that is them literally rising to a higher frequency. Whenever a woman wakes up from the patriarchy and realizes, like, oh, I don't have to have a child, oh, I don't have to get married, oh, I don't have to live my life like this, you are waking up, and that is you rising to a higher frequency. And so every time you wake up or see or become aware of one of these narcissistic systems, you are raising your frequency, you are raising your level of awareness, you're raising your level of consciousness, and you are getting closer and closer to being free. Like literally, like when I say free, I don't like when I was in the patriarchy, I didn't understand. When you are in these systems, like going back to that first abuse victim who is like in that box and she's staying with that man even though he beats her upside the head and does terrible things to the kids or whatever, they feel like they are there by free will. They feel like they are there Well, so, some of them are there because they are legitimately afraid to leave. But a lot of those women, as being someone who was one of those women, you stay because you love that person and you think that they are going to change. You love that person and you think that you're the only one who can help them. You love that person and you think that there's no life outside of this, so why even bother? It's just like there's all these programs that are running in your head that make you stay, or make you come back because you don't see anything else. But the moment a woman, when women have kids and then they see that that person like is hurting their kids, then that's when they wake up and they become aware that this person is actually a bad person, and they will even hurt young children, hurt innocent children. And that's when a lot of women start leaving, is when the abuser starts hurting their children, and they come from that level 1 to that level 2. And then that's when, but that level 2 is like, oh, they still feel like they need a man, they still feel like they got to do this, that, and the third, because they're running the program of the patriarchy, right? And before it was like, I guess it's still technically program of the patriarchy was level 1 for that woman, but it was like a deeper level 1. But like still thinking, okay, I left this abuser and I don't need to be in a narcissistic relationship, a narcissistic one-on-one relationship. If you want to know about the ratios of narcissistic relationships, I'll put a tag somewhere here for a video I did that, and that is self-narcissism. So anyways, yeah, so it's just like every time you wake up from one of these narcissistic hierarchies, one of these narcissistic programs, you are raising your level of awareness, and then you can become free. Like imagine a world where men can they can dress however they want without being called gay, or even if they are called gay is not a negative thing. Or imagine a world where a woman could just not have children and be judged, or not be married and be judged. Like that is, when I say free, I mean, when you have to, like, people, life could be so much different. Life could be like when you're free, the amount of options of what life can be, of the paths in life you can take, are so expansive. They are quite literally limitless. But these programs, they collapse all of your options into like certain pathways, and then they tell everyone like this is the path that you have to live your life as. Like, and they tell you like this is what you're supposed to do, and then when you get it and you're not happy, you're the problem. But when you wake up from all of these programs, you realize how much more expansive life can be, and you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want to be without a care in the world. I can't. I'll tell y'all another day about all of the things that I have been able to do since I have like realized that I don't have to do none of this shit. Once you realize you don't gotta do none of this shit, like the world becomes literally a different place. But anywho's, I hope this was helpful. I know this was a long video. I'm not sure if I'll cut this into 1 or 2. I might cut this in half because I'm like, ooh, running into 2 hours is a little ridiculous, Bri. But I love putting these 2 together. I'm just like, this is it. This is my bread and butter. This is what I want people to know. So I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. I hope you brought snacks. And if you would like to hear more, you can always follow me at Bri.Speaks on TikTok. Although I'm not posting as much on TikTok anymore. It's gotten, I don't know. I enjoy long form content. I like it here. So I think I'm gonna hang around. Or you can listen to this at Bri Speaks podcast. And then if you would like to support me in any sort of way, if you learned anything today and you feel like, man, this girl is working her behind off, she deserves some compensation. Feel free to any donations at Bri Speaks 2. That is the number 2, Bri Speaks 2 on Cash App. Or you can go to my website, free2adhd.com, and buy a hoodie. Use the code podcast for $20 off for all of my YouTube friends. And or you can also buy my 6 Narcissistic Social Hierarchies of Control as a PDF for $10. And I always tell everyone it's worth $1 billion. So this stuff is like worth, and it will be. And it will be. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the way I'm giving this stuff out for what it's worth, it's just, y'all better get it while the going is good, because once I step into my full potential, which it is great, and if you're here, you should already know, the price will go up. So, get it while the going's good. Thanks for coming. If you stay all the way to the end, please do put a inverted triangle in the chat. This is the representation and symbolism for anti-hierarchy. Anti-hierarchy, it stands for the collective over top of the individual. It's the opposite of narcissist. It stands for one for all and not all for one. And so, yeah, thanks for coming, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.